you leave me for somebody new. Worry, why do I let myself
I can't believe we're up. Okay, so we got a lot of things to talk about. The legislature started today, Carol. Oh, they're in session. You hear everybody covering? I should have worn a crash helmet. Oh, we all need our crash. Get your crash helmets on, monkeys, because it's gonna take years, a decade, to undo the damage of this legislative session. They're going to make so many stupid mistakes, so many short-sighted, ideologically driven decisions that are just going to drive this state into the ground, and it's going to take us 10 years to undo their damage. One good thing, Carol.
I need a good thing, tell me.
She needs a good thing. She says, tell me, they can't stop gay marriage. Art Pope, Tom Tillis, all the rest, ha! You can't do it. Back in the day, Carol, when I was on Usenet, anybody else remember Usenet? Usenet. I guess I should concentrate. Hang on, I gotta adjust my jaw. Much better. See, Carol, that's all. I just gotta make sure it's on right. So, what was I saying? Now that we've lost everyone, it's like, what? You can't even do a puppet. What does he know about politics? Gay marriage. They can't stop it. Back when I was on Usenet in the early 90s, I was telling people on the gay news groups, not those kind of gay news groups, the intelligent ones. The ones I read for the articles, Carol. The gay news groups I read for the articles. They, what am I saying? Oh yeah, I told them by 2017 we'd have gay marriage across the United States. They laughed, Carol. They laughed at me. Anyway, they can't stop that. Gay marriage is happening. But they're really upset about gender stuff, Carol. They really are. They're just really, oh, is that us? Am I national now? International? That scares me, Carol. Okay, so we got to talk about the Carolina Panthers. Oh, yeah, there's that one too. Oh, we're going to get to that. For McCrory. Why do they hate the humanities, Carol? They just took a big steaming crap on the very idea that liberal arts is worth encouraging in a citizenry. Pat McCrory, that whole thing where he's sitting on Bill Bennett's show in this little casual 10-minute conversation where he thinks he's just, nobody else is really listening. And Pat McCrory goes off on the whole idea of a university having majors like, and Carol, it's instructive, right, that they went for gender studies? Gender studies was his classic example. Now, why would you single out gender studies? Bunch of homos, bunch of lesbian feminists, right? Gender studies. The whole idea that there's anything like women's history is just anathema to them. I used that in a sentence, Carol. Anathema. Anathema. They're just furious about this. And so he's sitting there with his buddy, William Bennett, Mr. Gambling Problem, right? Former Secretary of Education. And he's going to instruct our children about morals. And, sorry, that's a cheap shot, but you know what? It's true. And he's just sitting there throwing out these casual slurs. And what's the first thing he comes up with? Well, we need to have more more college, more focus on jobs, getting people jobs. Not realizing what a huge, huge can of worms that is. The whole idea, Carol, that public education is just to create a subservient working class for people like Art Pope, that goes deep, deep in the history of public education. If you look at early public education, and this is one of the iffy things about it, you'll see those people were there at the start. Yeah, not everybody can, study humanities and all this. We need to have, jobs. Those people need to work for us. That was a big part of the impulse in some people for public education. Thank God we've risen above that. And we see the value of an open, broad, liberal arts education where you study science, you study history from a lot of perspectives, and you study all kinds of different things in the smorgasbord that is college life. And they want to cut funding for majors that Art Pope doesn't agree with. That's what they want to do. Art Pope wants to cut funding, and what does Art Pope do, Carol? Remember a few years ago? He tries putting up funding for courses that he gets approval of. His foundation, named after his dad, John something something Pope, which bills itself as this kind of like, oh, we're an academic studier of higher education, when really what it is just a front to attack the very idea of broad-minded, humanities-based inclusion in college education. They don't like it. They don't like humanities that include gender studies. So what this is, it's instructive that they're going after gender studies as their example. And if you go to my Twitter page, Carol, can you show them the Twitter? If you go to my Twitter page, you'll see it right there. A link to a really nice article at Inside Higher Education. Yeah, go there, scroll down, you'll see it. That quotes the head of UNC's Gender Studies Department, which interestingly enough, Carol, I don't think the NNO did. I don't think the Charlotte Observer did. You know? Let me double check. I'll double check that and get back to you by the end of the show. But the Inside Higher Ed article that I link at this Twitter page there quotes the head of UNC's Gender Studies Department. She's shocked. She's like, what the hell? Well, that's my take. That's what I would be. I'd be like, what the? God, bleepity bleep, Pat McCrory. Why would you do that? This ideologically driven idiocy. Do you know how many medical schools, Carol, look up on people who have English and history degrees, who like liberal arts majors? Do you know that's considered a plus for a lot of top-notch medical schools? Sure, you need your sciences. You got but a broad liberal arts education, sciences, literature, history, all kinds of good stuff in that beautiful smorgasbord of a 4-year college education. And I'm not crapping you. It's a beautiful smorgasbord. You get to choose. Most of it. It's amazing. You should do it. And here's Pat McCrory dissing the very idea that you take a class in philosophy that might actually, help you understand all your other classes. The basis for democracy. But gender studies was the one. Well, the head of the UNC Gender Studies Department was quoted in Inside Higher Ed saying, paraphrasing, our graduates get jobs. Yeah, they get jobs in social work, they get jobs in, and she just listed a whole bunch of things where graduates of UNC's Gender Studies Department get jobs. What the hell is Pat McCrory and Art Pope talking about? Are they talking about? That was bad grammar, Carol. I went to the college. I understand grammar. Yeah, really, what are they talking about, singling this crap out? And, yes, thank you. Oh, Carol, she read my mind. You read my mind, Carol. These are not expensive majors to maintain. What do you need, Carol? How much lab equipment you need for a philosophy major? Maybe a joint or two. Oh, I mean not supplied by the school. How much infrastructural support does it cost to run most social studies and humanities departments compared to some of these other departments? I don't know. That may be a bad point. I just thought of it and I was like, you know what? These are not expensive propositions here. So what are they doing? Here's what they're doing. You ready? They're crapping on public education. Crapping on it. Art Pope wants to cut his whole foundation, his whole life. He'll say, I'm not the power behind this. Whatever, Art. Your whole life to this point has been getting you here, but not at the top. You don't want that attention, right, Art? Art, we know you. You're hilarious. You're like so transparent. Oh no, I'm not the power behind the throne. I'm just this low-level guy right here. That's the governor. Yeah, that's me. Oh, I'm not a controversial figure. Ha! Art, you're hilarious. You're so transparent. You think we don't know who you are, Art Pope? You think? You think we don't know? Ha! You're a hoot. Hoot, Art. So, anyway, what is Art Pope's whole life about? Cutting public education. It's a threat to Art Pope's worldview. Government-funded education for everybody. It's the great equalizer, as that Inside Higher Ed article points out. The great equalizer. The one chance we have, as if you're lower class, lower middle class, you don't have a lot of advantages through your family upbringing, but you can get an education, damn it. That's the great equalizer. You can pull yourself up. They don't like that. Art Pope doesn't like gender studies majors. Doesn't like people understanding stuff about, like, white power and white privilege, and how someone like Art Pope gets the advantages of this white privilege and can walk around going, what? There's no such thing as white privilege. I didn't earn any of that. And when people understand that, they can look at Art Pope and laugh or feel kind of sad for him. Poor guy. Art doesn't like that.
You want to talk about immigration reform?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about immigration reform. But wait. Carol, the gays and the Boy Scouts. Woo-hoo! You see, they can't stop us. They can't stop the signal. They can't stop the gay signal. Who got that Firefly reference? Anybody? Somebody? Somebody got that, right? And was it not racist that, what's his name? Joss Whedon made the main media guy a Jew in the Firefly universe? I'm sorry. That struck me as a little racist. But anyway, what was I saying? What? Gays and Boy Scouts. Can't stop it. Tom Tillis is going to have a heart attack. Neil Hunt, sit down, baby. Sweetie pie, Neil, sit down. Here comes gay equality. It's coming now. Oh. Yeah, the Boy Scouts finally, Carol. They wimped out, though. Boy Scouts wimped out. They're letting local chapters decide whether or not they can smack gay people in the head. That's what they're doing, Carol. Oh, well, we're the national group. We're going to let you decide if you want to punch a gay child. Metaphorically. That's what they're doing. And you know why, Carol? Why are they doing it that way? Why did the national leaders say, well, we're going to do local control. We're going to let the local groups decide whether or not they ban gay kids from joining their scout troop? You know why they did that, Carol? 25% of Boy Scout troops are organized and funded by the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church. 25%. About. So instead of taking a principled stand, it was like, you know what? It's the right thing to do. We're Boy Scouts, truth, honor, the American way. What are they? Speeding bullets? Whatever the Boy Scouts are for. That would have been principled. No, local troop is allowed. But that would have cost them a lot of what, Carol? Money. And members. And a lot of troops would have disbanded and gone somewhere else. And instead of taking the principled stand that says the Boy Scouts do not discriminate against young gay children or young children with gay parents who want to be scoutmasters or whatever, or gay people who want to be scoutmasters, whatever. Instead of taking the principled, I think the word, Carol, is honorable stance. The Boy Scouts took the coward's way out and said, well, if that 25% of our organization that really sends us a lot of money and, really hates gays and is really bigoted against that, if they really want to, metaphorically punch gay kids in the head and really hurt them and, hurt children, yeah, go ahead, let's do it. That's what they did, Carol. Of course, we shouldn't be surprised, because this is an organization like the Catholic Church that we find out had a list, Carol, of child-abusing scout leaders and kept it secret from the police. Yeah, you heard about this, right? The LA Times did this article a few months back, a month or two back. Actually, it was this year, so a month ago. think it was this year. Yeah, the scouts had a list of the scout leaders that they'd had trouble with. And instead of publicizing it, because that would have caused problems, this went on for decades. And this is the Boy Scouts. Anyway, but point is, Carol, guess what? Most scout troops are going to stop banning gay kids. That's a good thing. All right. Can we put up the sponsors and throw in no, let me just hang on, let me just do this. Anyway, let's talk about this is something that's kind of near to my heart because you've been hearing about how the costs of Time Warner Cable and most cable packages now, since they don't let us pick and choose which channels we want, they won't even let us choose like a package of 10 or 20. I understand, Carol, the argument. I'm not completely convinced by it, but the argument is if Time Warner lets us pick and choose all the channels, there won't be enough people to support, Carol, the channels that you and I like, right? The highbrow channels, just PBS, whatever it is we watch. Whatever, I mean, I'm not saying that, but you should be able to choose. The point is, the biggest driver of costs for cable is sports. The licensing fees that they pay to the sports companies, right? Meaning the networks that then pay, they pay the NFL, NBC pays the NFL or whatever, and those fees keep going up and up and up. They got to pass it along somehow. ESPN got to pass it along somehow. So all of us end up paying for sports channels even if we don't watch the sports channels in our cable package. Now, I gave up cable years ago, and I really don't miss it. I get all the news that I need and all the entertainment that I need elsewhere, Cut the cord, monkeys, cut the cord. The more of us cut the cord, the more we'll be able to change the current system. But here's what's happening. Everybody who doesn't watch sports but still has cable is subsidizing sports fans right now. Huge numbers. Lots and lots of money. Most of the increase in your cable bill over the last 5 years has come from sports licensing fees that they then pass along to everybody because they don't want to have a mechanism for saying, well, you only watch, you don't watch any sports, so we won't pass it on to you. You watch sports all the time, and so you're going to pay more because this is the most expensive thing we've got. They don't do that. They don't let us pick and choose. So, Carol, we're already subsidizing sports in most of our life, those of us who don't watch a lot of sports. And I have no problem with sports. I really enjoyed watching NC State kick UNC's butt when I was doing laundry the other night. There were a couple, I think, homeless guys in there watching it with me. And we were all rooting for the underdog. Because that's what the homeless do, Carol. They root for the underdog. Nah. What? Yeah, I was at the laundromat in Cameron Village. Unfortunately, there was somebody who was waiting to close up and sweeping up. And so I left early because you don't want to be that person, right? You don't want to be the person who's sitting in the laundromat while the person who makes less than you, and that's saying something because I don't make a whole lot, is sweeping up, because you want to watch a basketball game. Okay, bottom line is, let's talk about the Panthers. So have you seen this news, right? That now, it first hit at NFL.com that Tom Tillis and Pat McCrory are meeting with the owner of the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers want to have a $250 million renovation to their stadium. Or else, Carol, are you ready? We might move. And, there's if you go to my Twitter page, again, I linked to a Charlotte Observer article, I think it was Charlotte Observer, that talks about why that threat may or may not be real. The Los Angeles is looking for an NFL franchise. There's a clause in the elderly owner of the Panthers' will that the team must be sold within 2 years after he dies. So, the idea is that if we don't do something to lock them into a 10-year lease now, then, they're going to go to one of the cities that are higher than us on the, what are we, number 30 in media markets, 27? I don't know, we're one of the 27th biggest media market in the country. And one of the other ones that doesn't have a team is going to grab the Panthers out from under us. And there are other cities, the Charlotte Observer points out, that are also worried about this now. But here's the bottom line. The fact is that small business Republicans are going to use incentives small government Republicans are going to use business incentives, they're going to use tax dollars to help this business. Now, some Republicans have been pure on this incentives are garbage thing. When companies claim, oh, we'll go to this state, they play states off against each other. We'll go to this state to build our new factory if you don't do this and like waive all our taxes for this amount and then, you know, help fund and build infrastructure. And oh, you better, your package is smaller than their package. And who can relate to that? Your package is smaller than their package, so we're going to go to Alabama, and who can compete with Alabama on this crap, right? The race to the bottom. Alabama's waiting there. I'm sorry if you're from Alabama. That was a cheap shot. But you know what I'm saying. There's always people at the bottom. Yeah, come to us, come to us. That race doesn't stop, the race to the bottom. And so now here's the Carolina Panthers playing that game. And here's a couple quick things. It's all going to be the devil's going to be in the details of the final lease. Will they get 10 years, a 10-year commitment? Because, Carol, they say they want $250 million. Charlotte's wants to put up $125 million. So they go hat in hand to Tom Tillis and say, will the legislature let us raise local restaurant taxes? Which pisses off the restaurants, Carol. Because they're like, why are we building a new stadium on the back of the restaurants? And probably hotels, too. You know, and you know, I think that's a fair thing. You know why, Carol? Because the hotel tax and everything is like outsiders, you know? Yeah. But you know, the fact is it's a luxury, so they're doing they're tacking it on to the restaurant business, which
There's only 4 minutes left.
only 4 minutes. All right. Well, we can finish up in 4 minutes.
Well, we have immigration too.
Oh, okay. Well, the immigration thing's real quick. We'll talk more about immigration next week, but because immigration reform that also builds walls that cuts off rivers and the passages of animals across their natural habitat. That's just insane. That's just insane. You can't build walls on Earth. You can't do it. It doesn't work. Earth doesn't work that way. Okay, that's all. So the thing about the Panthers is $250 million, they want $125 million to come from Charlotte, and Charlotte's going cap in hand to Tom Tillis, say, will you let us raise it on the backs of the hotel and restaurant business? And then of the other $125 million, they want half of that. That's the problem with tucking it under your leg. They want half of that to come from the state of North Carolina. Now, how do we share in the profits again? Oh, just generally. By business coming to town. And how good is the Carolina Panthers? How much money do they bring to the area? That's inflated. 9 times out of 10, if you actually look at the surveys of what the economic benefit of these new stadiums are, or renovated stadiums, the economic benefit is always inflated by the people asking to build. And here's the other thing, Carol. $250 million is the current price tag. Somebody please call up and bet me $100 that the final price tag isn't going to be double that. I say it's going to be at least double that. And again, if you look at other cities where this has happened, other states, other cities where this is what, the initial estimate is never what it really comes to. So the devil's going to be in the final details. If the costs escalate through the renovation process, which they will, at least $400 million, I will bet. I'll put $100 on the table right now. Final cost is going to be at least $400 million for the renovations that the Carolina Panthers are asking us to foot the bill for. Right? And here's the thing. Tom Tillis is like, no direct state money is going to go to the stadium, but what is Pat McCrory going to do? He's going to use the economic incentives of the, 1NC fund, I think is what it's called, the 1NC fund, and there are other things, and he's just going to throw them incentive money. So the state is definitely, no matter what Tom Tillis is trying to tell you, he's blowing smoke out his ass. He's blowing smoke up your and my ass. Because direct state funds are going to go to the Carolina Panthers for this. They're going to do like a little, shell game, so it doesn't look quite like they're voting directly to give money to the builders of the renovators of the stadium. But that's what's going to happen. It's just going to go through Pat McCrory's office and then go around through these incentives, which are questionable to begin with, highly questionable. And the John Locke Foundation people are with me on this. All the libertarians out there are with me on this. Not all of them. Some of them are kind of like, yeah, we need the incentives to, compete, blah, blah, blah. But the other ones look at it for the extortion that it is. It's the extortion that it is. It really is extortion. And the incentives game is just a race to the bottom. That's how Pat McCrory is going to directly funnel state funds, public funds, into the Carolina Panthers for their renovation. That's how it's going to happen. And the costs are going to be much, much higher than this $250 million estimate that we've been handed. It's a boondoggle every time. Art Pope Education Foundation, you want to talk about boondoggles? The stadium, public funding of stadiums is a huge boondoggle. It's always a boondoggle. There's no reason to do it, for any city to do it. Take care of each other.